That's fine. It'll be the USL Show Kids edition.
Yeah, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna jump off of this for a second and see if when I come back on, my avatar is smaller.
It'll be the USL Show Kids edition.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh no! Who popped out?
Jump off of this for a second.
I was literally just about to post the chat too. It'll be the USL Show Kids edition. Oh no, guys, stop it! It's I already posted the chat in the chat.
Sorry, I found it. I found it. Took me a while.
Oh, that hurt. All right. Anyway, now the crisis averted. It's 9 o'clock. We can start on that. Hey everybody, welcome to the USL Show, brought to you by our friend over at Roughneck Scarves, which is your home for MLS, USL, national team scarves, as well as for your club or personal use. Check those guys out, roughneckscarves.com. This is also being produced and brought to you by the Beautiful Game Network of Podcasts, which is, well, a podcast network that we're very happy to be a part of. So hi to Mike Sparks. Thank you for uploading this. And check all of the 9 million, roughly, podcasts that exist, bgn.fm, on the interwebs, as well as at the BGN FM on the Twitters. You can also check out the written side of things at USL News on Twitter for some really good stuff there. I am your host, as always, your favorite podcaster's favorite podcaster, Evan Villela, joined by sometimes my soccer colleagues, sometimes my soccer acquaintances, but they are always my soccer friends. And for the next, we'll call it an hour 15, we're going to talk about the first week of the USL playoffs for the first time in this iteration of this show's existence. So that's exciting, and also a mouthful. Introducing first, the man that puts the show in show notes, it is our international correspondent, Ryan Allen. Ryan, how's it going?
Pretty good. How about you, Evan?
I'm good. I'm very glad I got through that whole thing without effing up once. So that was a success. Also joining me, it's the cream in your Irish coffee, the waviest man in the St. Louis metropolitan area, Phil Grimps.
Good evening.
How's it going, man?
Pretty good.
That's good.
Had a road trip and missed a lot of the playoffs last weekend. So
fair. I mean, I suppose in your case that wasn't the worst thing to miss, but right. we'll talk about it. Also joining us, it is the best parts of Elliott Smith and Chuck Palahniuk condensed down into a podcast form. The biggest man on the show, Big Kev, Kevin McCamish.
Greetings.
Hi, Kev.
Hi, Evan. Hello, everyone else.
There you go. Very pleasant. And also joining us this week, finally, after begging and pleading with him for about 2 months, I could say about 20 minutes worth of things about my dear friend Kyle Kepner, but I will just say that literally if any of us hadn't met him, we all wouldn't be here. So I think I'll just leave it at that. If you've followed any form of lower tier American soccer coverage at all in the last 4 or 5 years, you probably know who Kyle is. But welcome back, man. This is formerly your show, and now it's not, so now you're a guest. How's it feel?
It's great. I appreciate your persistence and the flattery behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Had a lot of fun on the show in the past, and that introduction was beyond what I deserve. Thank you, anyways, for your kindness in all forms.
Not a problem. Anytime. It was good because I told you that I couldn't wait for your intro, and then you tried to get me to tell it to you in advance, and I just refused. So there you go. Now you know.
Not as painful as I imagined.
Well, then I did it wrong. We have to start over.
Yes,
guys. Because that'll be worth our time. Before we get into the playoffs and what a week it was, let's bang out some news real quick. So the big one, I think it happened the middle of last week, towards the end of last week, or maybe the week before. Eric Winalda announced as the technical director / manager of Las Vegas Lights FC. Pablo Mora, Maurer, I don't know how to say his last name, at MLSist on the Twitter, said 100% certainty and basically tweeted it as a fact that they actually asked Landon Donovan first, which would have been fascinating. But they settle on Eric Winalda, which is a strange one. Anyone with initial thoughts, feel free.
I'm curious if anyone thinks this is going to make them like more respected, like they go a different direction next year, or if this is like adding to the circus.
Wait, are they going for respect? Nothing's really
I mean, Ronaldo has been like a decent coach in a respectable, club.
No, I'm talking about Vegas in general. Like they are just like the city. They want to be the show. Like they're not respect. I don't think is a key foundational aspect here.
Well, I think with this hiring, maybe it's saying they're going to try to go a different direction next year. I guess that's what I'm asking. Does anyone think that this is a change? I guess Kev is voting no.
Yep.
Ryan, any thoughts?
I guess it's just interesting that it kind of adds on to the circus with Las Vegas. I mean, time will tell how it turns out to be, but if you're looking at past history from Ronaldo and the clubs he's managed prior to this, he coached the LA Wolves via Skype, and he had 2 stints with the Atlanta Silverbacks, one as an interim manager and one as like the full time for the season, neither of which ended in the playoffs for the NASL. So it'll be interesting to see where like the players he brings in for the club.
I think the real question is like, is he going to Skype in his training sessions, his coaching, or is he actually going to be in Vegas and actually going to be the coach?
Surely he's going to be there. I mean, you got to be there.
Cap, any thoughts?
I met Eric very briefly last year, and from what I've heard, I can say that he has at least the potential to be a really solid manager. And this is, I think we can agree, probably the most legitimate shot he's gotten. That being said, I agree with a lot of what's already been said. This is a risk for a lot of clubs, not so much for Las Vegas, who enjoys the attention. And Ronaldo, for many reasons, has not had a shot of this magnitude yet. So I think it's a good match, and I'm interested to see how it goes. Not least because I really do believe that he has a lot of tools, a lot of great insight to offer as a coach if he gets the right situation.
Not to mention, I imagine Vegas is willing to put out money for players. So obviously he has lots of friends in the soccer business. So I'd be interested to see who he brings in on top of his soccer smarts. It could be really interesting if they take it totally seriously. Maybe even a mix of serious and circus is interesting as well. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
The only thing that kind of weirds me out is if you're only 2, again, reported, we don't know how many people they really talked to, but if you're only 2 coaches that you interviewed were Landon Donovan with 0 coaching experience and Eric Ronaldo, who hasn't coached a team in a year and a half, 2 years, and even then, who doesn't have a lot of experience, like you'd at least give like Caleb Porter a shout maybe or something like that. I just don't know if they really tried as hard as they could have or should have maybe to find the right coach and GM that maybe would have made more sense for the guys that they have now. But regardless, we'll see what happens when it happens, I suppose.
I will say Donovan has managed one game. He managed the MLS All-Star or his homegrown game in 2015. I'm
so glad you said that.
In Colorado.
That makes well then.
I was actually at that match, so that's why it resonates enough.
I was really afraid I was going to be the only one to say actually.
Thank you for mansplaining the MLS homegrown game to me. I needed that.
I love sentences that begin with the word actually.
I think it's a combination of a couple things. I mean, I like to make fun of Vegas because it's fun to make fun of them, but I mean, they still it's entertaining overall what they do. And I look at it like the timing of the announcement, trying to make some waves, right? As a playoff start. Hey, don't forget about us, even though we didn't make the playoffs. Hey, look over here, over here, over here. They like to be in the center of their show. Now Ronaldo, whatever. I don't really have too many problems with him. I think he's got a good soccer mind. So like Kyle said, if this is the right situation for him, get him like an actual chance. And if he actually is like physically there and coaching, it could be a great thing for him and for Vegas. But if they only looked at those 2 guys, maybe they did look at more, maybe, but again, it's just they just want the attention. Hopefully it works out for them, but it's still like the timing of it, who they picked, the whole shebang just is like it's an attention getter.
And I mean, you know, like everything else they've done this year, it worked. So
yeah, true.
That's true.
Can't blame them for that. Speaking of managerial news, in a departure, Colin Clark is now the former manager of North Carolina FC. Announcement came down today, yesterday. Wait for it. But yeah, I mean, you know, a disappointing season really for North Carolina to not get into the playoffs, and I think a little bit of fan base restlessness might have aided this. But yeah, as of the 17th of October, I'm sorry, that was early last week, North Carolina will go in a different direction. So we'll see who that'll be. I'm sure it'll be a bit of a longer search, and they might interview a couple guys internally. I don't know who they have, you know, in the wings. But guys, was it time for a move for North Carolina?
I would say so. It seemed like most of the fan base that, despite their successes in certain matches, as 6-2 over Charlotte is definitely one match that sticks out, and winning the Southern Derby the first time anyone, a team not named Charleston, has won in the past 3 years is definitely a good starting point. But the ultimate goal should always be the playoffs. And North Carolina is a large enough club that they should at least shoot for the playoffs every year. There's definitely a kind of Clark out faction that kind of formed around the supporters. You just kind of got restless after a little bit, and it seemed like even an appearance in the playoffs might have costed Clark his job unless they ended up winning in that first round.
I always, you know, I've said it a million times, I've always liked the way they play, but they've been very inconsistent. And so, you know, maybe they'll get more of a practical guy in there and have a more normal brand of soccer. But, you know, they were trying to do something pretty out there. It just didn't work out this year. And if the fans are uneasy, you understand, because, I mean, the women's side is doing so well. So maybe that's part of it too.
Yeah. For what it's worth, their record this year, 13 wins, 8 draws, 13 losses, goal differential +10, finished in 9th place on 47 points, which was 2 behind Nashville, who they would have had tiebreak over, and Indy 11, who they actually would have had on goal differential. So, you know, 2 or 3 more points throughout the season, and they're in a lot better shape than they finished this year.
I don't know how long he was there. Does anyone know how long he was there? So if this is the 2nd or 3rd year in a row people have been disappointed, then that's a little more understandable too.
Well, they were in the NASL, so I can understand them just being disappointed in general. But
yeah, he's been since 2011 to 2018.
Okay, so there we go. They know what they have.
Yeah, at that point, right?
I mean, the thing with like North Carolina missing the playoffs by just a hair, like you can say that about like, you know, almost a half dozen teams across the league.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think, you know, this season was a really good, enjoyable season for, you know, and there were a lot of teams that came really close. And, you know, like you can say that about almost any team, any season, but there were a lot of teams out there that just 1, 2 results could have gone our way. And, you know, the playoffs are a whole different picture. So.
Just to throw a stat out there, sorry, Ryan, 91, 84, and 58 over his 7 years there. So
win, loss, draw, or win, draw, loss?
Win, draw, loss, I believe.
Okay. So
still like on the good side.
Yeah, I mean, you could do a lot worse.
Yeah.
Why can't we just have like an international, like, let's keep it the same? Pick one. Is it win, draw, loss, or win, loss, draw? Stick with it.
Should always be win, draw, loss.
Should always be win, draw, loss. I agree.
Get on board, world. All of you.
Hey, in an effort to really be the USL in its entirety show, Kyle, aren't you glad you didn't have to deal with any of this? 2 USL League One news stories. The 9th founding club is going to be announced this Thursday, which, if I pull up my calendar here, let me get you a date on that one. 25th. Of October. It's either probably going to be Lansing or the California team. Probably.
My money's on Lansing.
Yeah, I'm imagining that the USL League One boys will be smitten with the mitten come the 25th. and be in Michigan.
How long have you been working on that?
Oh my god!
How long? I've known that that's like their phrase. That you're smitten with the mitten. I've just not had a good reason to pull it out. Really.
Alicia's gonna love this episode.
That's fine. Anyway, you guys laugh. I can't wait. Aaron, put that in the hashtag if you guys are going out there.
It's endearing. It makes me like all Michiganders.
Yeah, and they put cheese on the inside of the hamburger. That's what they should be called. The Lansing, we put cheese on the inside of the hamburgers.
That just makes me not want to eat hamburgers.
Wow. All right, man. You're turning down a perfectly good food stuff because they put the cheese on the inside? I don't understand.
Remember when Papa John's put the pepperoni on the under the cheese?
Remember when their owner was really racist?
Oh man, yeah.
Oh boy. What were we? Soccer, right? Sorry.
Smitten with the mitten. Go
right.
back.
Yeah.
Wine and then skip.
Just reel that back in. Yeah. So that'll be good. Stay tuned on that one. We don't know a whole lot about it other than, hey, there's a team coming in on Thursday. That'll be their 9th. And then if that rumored California club comes in, that'll be number 10. So, yeah, that's not a terrible number, but I imagine they'd love to get to 12. But we'll see what happens when we get there. The other news, Chattanooga, the Red Wolves, which is such a good team name. I like it a lot. Looking to build their soccer-specific stadium. This soccer-specific stadium for 2020, which they'll join Georgia Tormenta as the. Sorry, nope, they won't. Greenville Triumph. It's like I can't read.
Tormenta's, you are right on Tormenta. There, they are building their own place as well.
Oh, cool. All right, so I'm not wrong. So it'll be Georgia, Chattanooga, and Greenville with intentions, at least, to build their own soccer-specific stadium. Red Wolves will play at David Stanton Field for the first season. It's a high school football stadium, artificial surface, just so you know. But yeah, good move from them to try to get a soccer-specific. It just makes things a lot easier if you just own your own field, really.
Yep, and it makes you more the profitability, I guess, is the way to say that is much better for lots of reasons. So
it seemed like what they did was that they actually considered Findlay for a little bit, but Findlay had basically written in their contract the same thing they have with Chattanooga FC there, that they wanted to take profits off of concessions and the luxury boxes, and that was something that the club didn't want to go for, so they felt building their own place was the better route.
Well, and weren't there issues as far as people thought they were going to steal that stadium from Chattanooga FC, and that was going to negate the possibility of them playing a season?
I think that was part of it as well, but I don't know if that was ever really like
proven.
Yeah, like anything other than people, making noise and assuming. I mean, as right as they were, because you don't have to think too hard about that for that to make sense. But I don't think that was ever logistically on the table.
Yeah, and people thought up some more clauses on top of that, so nothing was solid. But that was the first thing that stuck out to me, is that there is no contention there by the looks of things now.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah, I agree. What do we got next?
Kyle, Eastern Conference or Western Conference?
That is a difficult one, let me tell you.
I think you should flip the pin again.
Did you ever watch? Did you ever listen to this show when I was on it?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, my knowledge of the Eastern Conference hasn't improved. Let me say that.
The good news is that it's still consistent with us. I am going to flip the Talking Jacks pin. I will actually make up my mind as what means what. If this lands with Ben and Alex's face down, we'll go Western Conference, given that they are both in Charlotte. And if it ends face up, we'll do Eastern Conference. Here we go. Actually flipping it. Audible noises. Face down, Western Conference it is.
It's 2 for 2.
Evan, isn't it weighted wrong for it to be, 50-50 split? Yeah, whatever. Someone send me a coin.
A Talking Jacks one.
I need like an official USL. Do we do midfield coin flips in this league? Just send me one of those.
I think they do give them to whoever flips them. I saw that at a St. Louis game. It was like
really?
a one, and the guy got it.
I have a Tim Resermi coin, but I only have one, so I can.
No, it's all right. You can keep that. That's fine. I don't want it to have any sentimental value, really. I just need a coin. Canadian, American, Mexican. I don't really care where it's from. Anyway, Western Conference. We'll start with I suppose we'll just start with the 1v8. Orange County SC 4, St. Louis FC 0. I will say this: not ideal to give up a goal in the 11th minute, then go down a man in the 21st minute. But if I'm Orange County right now, I'm pumping the brakes a little bit because, granted, you can only beat who's in front of you, but your path in was a lot easier than, I'm going to say, just about every other team this week, for sure.
I'd say so.
Yeah. So, Phil, I watched most of this out of solidarity because you didn't, but man, really rough turnover for that first goal for Michael Steaton, who had himself quite the game with a hat trick. He scores in the 11th, the 29th, the 64th, and then Mats Bierman scores against his former team in the 66th. Tony Walls gets the red card at 21 for dissent, and that's the end of St. Louis's playoff run.
It was a straight red for dissent, right?
It was.
Okay,
that's impressive.
Without Phil, to blow up your spot, without saying what happened, out of respect for everybody involved, from Tony Wall's account, that's never a red card.
Right. Yeah.
Really hard done for that to be a red.
Yeah. We know what happened.
Especially that early.
And I think, as Evan said nicely or perfectly before, and when we were talking to each other in a messenger, it's not a topic that like 5 white dudes mostly from the suburbs should talk about extensively. But I think what is fair to talk about is that I don't know. I don't see any reason to give a straight red for this exact thing. And I don't know, I don't know the rep, so maybe his personal experience comes into this, or maybe I doubt there's any kind of solid rule on anything like this as far as referee pro. But I would say, like, Tony was shocked, like, why didn't I get a warning or at worst, yellow? You know what I mean? But no. And then on top of that, what I thought Pony brought up, I thought today or yesterday he tweeted about this, I thought was kind of perfect. Like, perhaps both guys should have gone off for what happened. If someone's going off for just dissent for saying some things, the other guy like tackled someone from behind, kind of messed with him on purpose, said a few things on top of that. And he got nothing but a yellow. So I'm obviously very biased, but I think it was handled very badly. And I think that's fair to say. And I don't know if anyone would terribly disagree with that. And the worst thing is that it happened in a playoff game on top of the 20th minute.
My big is that it's dissent, and it's like if this was Tony Walls puts his foot through a dude's chest, no problem,
right?
Like, but this is Tony Walls says something not terribly nice and gets a red card in the 21st minute. A part of me feels like whenever you see guys get a yellow for dissent, they're chirping the ref the entire game, and it's a second half thing, and it's a yellow card. So, yeah, credit to Orange County for going through. I don't think they would have lost anyway, and obviously they gave up a goal to Michael Seaton 11 minutes in, as a gift. So I don't know if things would have gotten any better for St. Louis, but this certainly didn't help.
And they had already given a goal up, as you said, so it was already not looking good for St. Louis because that's kind of how they roll. Let the other people score first. It's kind of difficult for them. So not saying it would have changed anything, but I still just don't care for the way it was handled.
Ryan.
To be honest, I actually love OC, and they're actually my second favorite team in the West. And I'm kind of going to root for them for the rest of the time, just maybe not Seaton.
Fair enough. Anyone else with thoughts on this one?
How is OC good?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Hey, Kyle, since you've hosted a podcast, Orange County, not only not called the Blues anymore, actually good at soccer.
Well, they won the West, what was it, 2 years ago?
Sounds right.
And even then I was shocked.
Yeah.
They're just, I can say this, right? They're kind of a train wreck behind the scenes. Just a lot of. Did you guys already talk about? I'm sorry if I missed it. Please tell me that you discussed that blockchain guy taking over the Twitter. That was fun.
Yeah,
that's the kind of thing that happens for OC.
18 hours without their account.
Winning a playoff game 4-0, even under these circumstances, is not what I expect from OC. And it's a little bit difficult to take. I would love to have seen St. Louis up there instead. That's all I got.
Orange County is like if you grow up with someone and you don't see each other for like 10 years and then you randomly get dinner and you're just two completely different people. And you might as well just be talking to them for the first time ever. That's the best way I can describe what OC Blues were and what Orange County SC was. Also, a side note to Orange County, the team, not the county. Why is there like no orange in your logo?
Oh, there is now.
That's fair.
The Blues?
The outline
the Blues always
black.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Orange is a bit too on the nose.
Yeah, it was maybe like a secondary logo. They should use Lauren Conrad. I don't know.
Yes.
I always thought it looked like a carrot. The whole thing. I see carrots in the
That's
logo.
Fine.
That's what I see.
I'm okay with that. Moving on, the 2 versus the 7, Sac Republic 1, Swope Park Rangers 2. Sacramento start things off. Villian Bajev scores in the 16th minute. And then for Swope Park 1, Kuzain scores in the 27th with Haji Berry scoring in the 31st. And Swope Park through to the next round.
Swope doing their thing, bringing up those talented players for the last several games and then fun in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
That's what they do every year. They could go all the way with the team they have. They're very good. I think a lot of times you can get really lucky by like pressing their back line because they refuse not to pass out of the back. And a lot of teams have had success in that, but if they get the ball forward and they connect too many passes, they're gonna score 1 out of 4 of those situations at least. Sometimes in that. So they're talented. They're 3 attackers up top, and then a couple of their midfielders are all dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Isn't Kuzain like 18 as well?
I think he's 18 or 9. He's 19, I think now. But
it's at least the second year in the league, yeah.
Yeah.
Got some time with MLS, and he's a left-footed kid.
He's 20.
He is 20. Oh, wow. So he's
September 14th, 1998.
He had a good free kick against the Galaxy, and I didn't know he had that in his toolbox. It was really good.
Yeah, no, he looked sharp. Ice in his veins, especially if he get a goal in his first, I imagine, playoff appearance. Maybe a second.
But no, Swope just kind of does their thing. They're looking to get back to the Western Conference Final for the 3rd year in a row and defend their Western Conference title that they've won now 2 years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't see it.
That's fair. There's a couple teams that I'm ahead of them in terms of winning the West this year.
So, yeah, definitely. Yeah, they're not the team that they were last year because they're not the 4 seed, which they did in their previous 2 title wins.
I appreciate that, Ryan, but I was just being a homer. Yeah.
Ryan's great because he'll power through us just bigging up our own teams. It's admirable. Yeah, I mean, 2 seed Sacramento Republic probably didn't want to lose this, but that's why you got to play a whole 90 minutes. I don't know.
Well, all the goals happened in the first half, so I mean, you had.
Yeah, I mean, you have to play full 45, I guess. I don't know.
Either way, I don't know.
The 3 versus 6 in the West: Phoenix Rising 3, Portland Timbers 2-0. Didier Drogba at 40, proving he might as well be 25 with an insane free kick goal. Kyle, you were there.
I was there. The goal was good. It was on target, but Kevin and I had a discussion pregame, and I'm gonna go ahead and say Kendall McIntosh gets there and punches it over the stadium.
To be fair, I think Pack. Well, okay, so yes, it was a really good goal. I've watched it over and over again, and absolutely hats off to Drogba. But as soon as the lineup came out, and I saw it was Austin Pack, I was like, well, we'll get one playoff game, and that's gonna be it. Yeah, but it was right at the keeper. Because Austin did not have to move hardly, but it was with such power. He's such a green, inexperienced keeper. I don't think he had any idea like what was coming at him until it hit him, and because it almost looked like it pushed him back before he was even able to like try to push it up over the bar, but he just pushed it up into the roof of the net.
Yeah, I think the pace is what got him more than the placement.
Yeah, I mean, he was in the right spot, but it was just like too much power. Wasn't expecting, I think like a shot coming right at him with that kind of speed, and he was just like and then just pushed up in the net, and that's that.
And if you think we're crazy, if you think you saw that free kick during the game and you're like, they're crazy, that was one of the best free kicks I've ever seen. Look for the angle where the camera's right behind Drogba, and then you see that it's not quite as far into the corner as I initially thought.
And honestly, a part of me wonders if Drogba knows that he has that green of a keeper and goes, I'm just going to hit it. Yeah.
He's got to. I mean, the dudes, I'm sure that they like look at the lineups and stuff and kind of expect like, okay, well, if McIntosh has to stay with the first team because the first team keepers are still injured and they're on their second team, their second string keepers starting, their third string keepers backing up. And their fourth string keeper for T2 is injured, so now they got to go to their fifth string. It's you're kidding. And then I guess we had a 16-year-old academy keeper on the bench to back up Pack.
Yeah.
So we were really scraping the bottom of the barrel there on keepers, and he has to have known. He's like, I've never heard that name before. Let's shoot. And I was telling Kyle, I'm like, the poor guy. Like, I feel bad for him because as soon as he lets in a goal, I'm pretty sure his confidence is going to get shot, and it'll be a multi-goal loss. And sure enough. I mean, T2, to their credit, I think really put up a great fight for about 60 minutes. I mean, the Drogba free kick, amazing goal aside, they really did, I think, pretty well and put up a good challenge, good fight. But then it was the Phoenix finally got back in the game. The last 30 minutes was the deserved team won and went through with pretty easy.
Yeah.
When I thought about your comments on Pack throughout the game, and I stood behind him during the second half, and the supporters were just giving him all they had, and I swear I could see him smiling through the back of his head practically. He was taking it pretty well.
That's good.
And he stood up, and this is not super characteristic of Jason Johnson, thankfully for Phoenix fans, but Johnson had a 1v1 with him that was just, I mean, icing, ribbons, and bows. It was absolutely gift wrapped for Johnson, and he just misses. It was practically an open net, and he misses.
Yep.
That would have made it 2-0. He later made it 2-0, but I was just thinking, okay. This could have gotten out of hand for this keeper, but he's doing okay. And the two goals that he let in later, I mean, they were no-win situations for a keeper. The defense lets the guys into the box like that. It was difficult for him. But yeah, I mean, overall, a strong win for Phoenix, a good bounce back from the previous week's loss to T2. And yeah.
Kyle, do you need to get out of here?
I got a minute. I do want to say
all right, fair enough.
That the Rangers coming to town will be interesting. Definitely nice for the Phoenix fans to see that rematch from last year's playoffs here on their own home turf. The atmosphere on Friday night was incredible, and as a fan living in this city for as long as I have, it was just a really, really great night. Spoke with a lot of the staff and the ownership, and they were just on cloud nine about how everything went. So this coming Friday should be just as good.
Man like Kyle out there rubbing elbows with a certain bassist from a punk pop band that was very popular in the early 2000s, who I quite enjoy. So
I want two things. Hold on. I want to say two things. Sorry.
Yeah.
So one, like if you're going to win one of the two games between Phoenix and T2, you guys won the right game. And then second, please go out and beat Swope Park. I don't want them to make it to the final. A nightmare final for me, and Pony also said this, would be Cincinnati versus Swope Park, and I don't want to see it. So just knock them out and keep going.
Okay, I'll make sure everybody hears this.
Tell everybody you know. Just really be like, hey guys.
I'm sure Sam was like, no, we're not going to worry about the next game. And then, oh wait, Kevin wants us to win. Oh, now we better do it.
Is that the guy I talked to, or the other one? They have similar names. I get them confused all the time.
Door?
Oh no, I was being Sam. I thought he would get you and I confused because we're Kevin and Evan.
Yeah, that's true. All right, never mind.
But if you do run into the bassist of your favorite pop punk powerhouse band,
favorite. I said a successful.
No, they're my favorite.
Oh, fair enough.
Then
all right, well.
Do what I do. Say, I'm sure you get this all the time. My kids are huge fans.
Oh, shoot. I'm sure you get this all the time. I would have liked to marry Ashley Simpson as well.
That didn't come up.
Okay, well, shame.
She seems nice.
I'm sure you get this all the time. I named my kid after a Disney character.
Oh, did he do that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they had a kid named Mowgli or whatever, so that's fun.
Oh, not Aladdin?
Yeah.
All right.
No. Unfortunately. Not Jafar. I'll stop. Anyway, more soccer games were played. Imagine. In a week where there was only 8 of them, we're doing a terrible job. Number 4, Real Monarchs, SLC 0. Number 5, Heat FC. A lot of numbers this week. 1, Brian Brown stoppage time goal. Thanks for that. And the 4 seed Monarchs go down to Reno.
Surprising. I was surprised this was such a low-scoring game. I thought this would be a bit of a shootout based on what the teams have the ability to do, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't like the most amazing goal to win the game, but it did it. It got him to the next round.
I mean, it counts, right?
Sure does.
About 2 or 3 weeks ago, I would have been like, well, this is hands down an easy game for Reno, but Salt Lake City, the Monarchs started to kind of put things together those last 2 games.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, okay, maybe it'll be a little bit more of a challenge, but in the end, I think the team that probably has done better, especially recently, but more overall the season, is the one going through, and that's probably good.
I don't know if I'm messing up on order. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say that it definitely seemed like the better team over kind of the later half of the season. One, I felt like Reno was a lot more stronger, especially from Real Monarchs. Yeah, they kind of fixed it a little bit over the past 2 weeks, but if you looked at like the 7 games prior to that, from like August 25th onwards, it just didn't look like a playoff team, or they looked like a team that once they got into the playoffs, they just closed up shop there and kind of left it at that. And especially for Brian Brown to score in the 90th minute to kind of add on to the dagger for that, it was just more probably disappointing end for Real Monarchs, a team that all of us had picked to probably win the Western Conference this year.
Yeah, nailed it, Ryan.
I have one parting thought on the Monarchs. I do not root for them per se, but having attended a match there this year completely revolutionized my thoughts on that organization.
For the better.
Eventually, what's that?
For the better.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm eventually going to write something about it, per my promise to them. But it was really great to see the efforts that they've gone to make the club a standalone, fan-oriented entity, and being right next door to that terrific facility where they can host events on the indoor training pitch. That was really, really cool to see. I'm a big fan of what they're doing over there.
I'm too. I'm glad you brought that up because they're like probably the only 2 side that's doing it like 100% right as far as like game day atmosphere and still being connected to the first team without being a hybrid. You know what I mean? So I think they've got a perfect system going. And if, as an indie side, bias here, I hope that a lot of other 2 sides might start copying that with maybe the threat of being sent down to League One if they don't.
Hats off to the investments by Deloy Hansen. What what a change in the last 5-10 years. It's been really, really cool to watch.
And a bold move to put your money into something like that when you don't.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's a really neat park. I hope a lot of teams, not just two sides, but anybody in the league that builds a stadium that nice, that's a win. That's going to go over really well.
Yeah.
Let's also not forget that they also bought a women's team and moved the. I forgot who they moved over there, but now they're the Utah Royals,
the former Kansas City team.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I counted at least 2 billboards driving through SLC the day that I was there, welcoming the arrival of 2 new players at the time. Forgive me, I forget who they were, but I thought welcoming players on a billboard right on the freeway. That's connecting to the community.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well done.
Good shout. Good shout. Hey Kyle, thanks for stopping by, man.
Thanks for coming, dude.
Yeah,
I really appreciate you guys having me. It's been a blast. I like you guys. I like everything about what you're doing. Thanks for carrying the torch and better.
Thanks for giving it up. Sorry, to pry it out of your cold, dead hands.
It was just that difficult, wasn't it?
Oh my god, it was terrible. You were like, "Yo, can you do this?" And I was like, "Yeah, all right." That was about verbatim the conversation we had back in January.
Pretty close.
Pretty close.
Hey, gents, thanks again. Can't wait to see the rest.
Our dear friend Kyle Kepner, everybody. One of my favorite people.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
There you go. If you didn't know, now you know.
Kyle Kepner.
What's up?
I said class act, that Kyle Kepner.
He's listen, there's a lot of good people in this league. I certainly would not be as connected and as nice or carry myself in the same way if he had not told me how to do everything. So there you go. Moving on to the Eastern Conference. Guys, real quick, just a really polite, tiny round of applause. Don't want to kill my levels. FC Cincinnati 1, Nashville SC 1. Your final after penalty kicks, Cincy 6, Nashville 5. 0-0 after 90 minutes, and then we got fun. Corbin Bone in the 95th. Bradley Bourgeois gets credit for this one, even though it totally took a deflection in the 115th. Justin Davis misses the last penalty kick for Nashville. I think he went over the bar. Kenny Walker makes the deciding Cincinnati penalty kick, one of the guys that's been there for them since day one, as was Corbin Bone, actually, who had a really sweet shot for his goal. Chances for both teams to put it to bed in the end of the game in stoppage time. I think Brandon Allen had one pretty late, but it was not to be. And Cincinnati, although they couldn't do it in 90 minutes, no one could win in 90 minutes in this series this year. Since you get their playoff win, they'll move on.
This is their first one, right?
Yeah.
This is their first one.
First playoff win for Cincinnati. That's good. That's an achievement.
Keep going.
No.
I mean, we all kind of knew coming in this game that they would struggle, at least to kind of get the result. And Nashville proved to be a tough opponent like they have been all year. I mean, Cincinnati led 22-16 in shots, but it was a 6-5 shots on target lead for Nashville. In fact, Nashville had 47 clearances, which is basically the definition of parking the bus. But I actually think New York Red Bulls 2 in the second round is going to be an easier opponent for Cincinnati than Nashville will be, than Nashville was.
Pony had some really interesting things to say, and I disagreed with him a lot when he was talking about it, but I eventually kind of came around to kind of feel like basically he was saying that Nashville was seated too low as far as, or they were seated lower than their quality was. And I kept arguing about how they really, kind of crapped the bed a lot throughout the season, had some really bad games and just couldn't score goals, major problems, right? But when you think about the teams that could beat Cincinnati, and I feel like there were really only two that were going to have a really good chance of beating them compared to the rest, and that had to be Pittsburgh and Nashville. And now, one got beat by Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh is out. We're about to talk about that probably, but I think he makes a really good point that maybe their seeding didn't match their quality as far as playing someone like Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I mean, we all knew coming into this that we felt like Nashville will be one of the better sides of the Eastern Conference. And like you said, Phil, they just kind of crapped the bed in a few matches here and there across the season and ended up with the 8th seed, barely edging NCFC and their way into the playoffs. So we all felt like they deserved at least a little bit higher and in the playoffs. But it is what it is, and it was definitely a tough opponent, Cincinnati. I don't. It'd be interesting to see. Sorry, Kev, go.
I don't really like the term "crap the bed" because this is a team that had the second best defense in the league.
Yeah.
Because I mean, for me, like crapping the bed means like they just really sucked. And now, while they could certainly button it up on their defensive end, the biggest issue is that they couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with a soccer ball, right. and that's what cost them. I mean, that's what cost them the seeding, and that's I think what cost them this match too. Like the great defense can only do so much if you can't get a goal when you really need it.
Yeah. Yep. We'll move on. In what I thought was maybe the worst game of the playoffs, Louisville 4, Indy 11-1. Louisville just looking like they want the cup again, like really bad. Niall McCabe with a brace in the 29th and the 48th. Ilya Illich in the 42nd. And, of course, Cameron Lancaster says, I can score too, and hits a really pretty free kick in the 73rd. Sunnyside pull things back in the 67th minute to make it 3-1 Louisville. But, I mean, at that point, that's just a consolation prize. Thank you for coming. Yeah, Ryan, I'll agree with you on the notes. Louisville looks like the best Eastern Conference club coming out of this.
Well, if you look at all the first matches that they've played over the past couple years, 2015 and in 2016, they won that first match by a score of 2-0. Well, and then they beat Bethlehem by a fair margin last year to pick it off. So they know how to start. Right? They beat Bethlehem last year 4-0 and 4-1 for this one. So they know at least how to start off a playoff run correctly, that they can at least get serious at the correct time. Now, I guess time will tell if they want to make it to, I believe, what would now be their 4th consecutive Eastern Conference final if they make it this year.
They have the quality. I mean, if they can do what they did in the Open Cup against MLS sides, since he is about the level of a U.S. Open Cup MLS side, if we're going to be honest, with all the younger players they tend to put in those games. So there's definitely a chance. I didn't give them enough credit when I didn't list them earlier.
Fair. Yeah. I'll wait for it. 2 seconds. Hold on. I'll just ask it. Was this the best game of the playoffs so far?
Are we talking about battery?
Pittsburgh 2-7.
Oh, sorry.
No. Pittsburgh and Bethlehem. I just thought in terms of the amount of drama and everything that was in this one, this was probably, I don't know, really entertaining for neutrals maybe.
It was Pittsburgh's highest attended match of the season.
Wow.
Oh, interesting.
Good for them.
Yeah, look, they broke 5,000. That's good.
Good for them.
They even look at the clearances. Pittsburgh had 46 to Bethlehem's 37. I mean, you toss in a red card at 119.
Yeah, that was...
You basically go back and forth on the goals. When Pittsburgh scores, Bethlehem comes back and equalizes twice. Then it goes all the way down to PK. So at least I agree with you, Evan, in terms of high drama, it's kind of hard to go wrong with that.
Yeah, and I'll go for it, Phil.
No, I agree too. Go. What you were about to say.
No. So, feeling out process early on, Ben Zemanski gets a header 25th minute, pretty clear. Michi Golina, it's a really great counterattack. Nanko wins it off of Hugh Roberts, misses a header, I think, and then plays out wide to Santi Moore, who does well to control the ball first time because it's hit really hard at his left foot, and he settles it, taps it across for Golina, and he ties it up. Going 105th minute, of course, which they didn't mention this in the broadcast, which I thought was kind of funny. Former Bethlehem Steel defender Hugh Roberts scores a goal in the 105th minute, gets a garbage kind of tap in. Nothing against him. It was just not, a pretty goal. It's a defender's goal, I'll say. And then what was funny was my stream was on about a 3-minute delay. So I got a bunch of, wow, James Chambers like tweets and comments from you guys before I saw it. Because it was like, all right, free kick. And then I'm like, okay, well, apparently he hits it, blazes it into the top corner. Really pretty goal from Bethlehem skipper. Joe Holland on a breakaway, 119th minute. Pretty much clean in on McGuire. McGuire comes out. Holland's first or second touch is way too heavy. And he ends up, I don't want to say he got his studs in McGuire, but he ends up fouling McGuire. McGuire holding his face a little bit. Luckily, he's okay. We go into penalties, and I'm not going to say these were good penalties. I don't think either keeper, Dan Lind or Jake McGuire, was necessarily close to making any of these saves until Ray Lee misses the kick. McGuire guessed right on that one. But yeah, Olivier Bizo, of all people, hits the winning penalty kick for Bethlehem Steel after Matt Mahoney, a defender, and Matt Real, a defender, hit their penalties. And Bethlehem advance, and they'll play Louisville City in a rematch of last year's quarterfinal game. And just so everyone knows, Bethlehem will be down in Louisville on Wednesday to get acclimated to another wonky surface. So we'll see. Hell of a game. Kudos to both sides for playing their butts off for 120, 130 minutes, really, and the penalties. But happy to see Steel advance, especially with all those kids going out and getting the result in Pittsburgh. So yeah. Also, I tweeted at him, but a happy birthday to Brendan Aronson, who is now officially 18. So there you go. That's why he signed that pre-contract, by the way. Because you can't sign a 17-year-old. The 4 versus the 5. Hey, Charleston, sorry you can't do it. Something, they're just physically incapable of beating Red Bull 2 in the playoffs in any capacity. And was it, Ryan, was it you with the stat or Pony with the stat?
Pony.
New York has beaten Charleston in the playoffs more times than Charleston has beaten New York ever. Tom Barlow's 71st minute. It's back. The 21st minute. And Red Bull 2 will move on.
Yeah, I mean, this is Red Bull 2 has always kind of had Charleston's number, and it's really kind of hard to deny it. I mean, the Charleston team will be back. I was talking with John from Black and Yellow Post, and he said most of the players are under contract for them, but I just have to feel with the battery here that it's unfortunate that second year in a row they fall to New York Red Bulls 2 in that first round.
Mm-hmm. Phil, Kev, any thoughts on the game or Charleston's just inability to beat Red Bull 2 in the playoffs?
I mean, with the battery, it's just kind of...
Sorry about that. I threw to you and didn't see that you weren't around. That was good. That was good.
I told you my kids might interrupt tonight.
Hey, man, it's fine. Kev's also a bit preoccupied, so whatever. Phil, I have a reference for the folks at home.
Oh boy.
The Charleston Battery are, up until last year, very much like the Washington Capitals.
Okay.
In that I feel like you could put anybody else in front of them in the playoffs and they'd win, except for the Pittsburgh Penguins, or in our case, Red Bull 2.
I think that's a really great shout, actually.
Because I feel like Charleston would be safe at home against Pringles here, maybe not Cincy. And to be fair, only losing 1-0 off a 21st minute goal, is about right for Charleston. We talked about it in the preview with Mike Watts. I think everyone that's seen Charleston play a game knows that at home, especially, Anheuser sets up the team to sit back, let the game come to you, let the other team run themselves to death, and then capitalize. And it's never matter who they've had on their roster. That's just what they do. And the only time that doesn't really work for them is times like this where the opposing team gets a goal and they have to chase the game.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And Ryan, you know, I was on I happened to be able to get on a bunch of shows last week because they either recorded first thing in the morning or the last thing late at night, which was nice and for me. But basically, one of the things I spouted off was, Ryan, you were talking about ELO ratings, and I think if I heard you right, you were saying that Charleston doesn't stand a chance in this one, right? Can you explain that a little better?
It seemed like Charleston was only going to be a slight favorite per the ELO ratings. They were actually the lowest favored of any Eastern Conference team at just 58%, but a lot of that was largely due to just being at home. I mean, if you look at just pure ratings, they would only be like a slight, maybe less than 50% or less than 51% favorite. And it seemed like one of those that it just wouldn't match up as well as, say, a Cincinnati over Nashville or Louisville over Indy. That we were talking about kind of that their seeding didn't really match what the rating being picked up. Like we saw that with Reno out in the West, that their ELO rating was actually higher than Real Monarchs. It's just that the seeding didn't match up.
Very interesting. Yeah, I mentioned that you had said that, and I had no good explanation for why.
Yeah, if you guys missed it, Phil, you were on Soccer Today with friend of the show, Kevin Laramie.
Yeah.
Who I said is my favorite. I love Kev. And Dwayne Rollins is nice enough to ask us to come on. And then you're also on Top Drawer Soccer, which was of your own doing.
It was.
But Trav and those guys are also wonderful.
Promotion there a little bit.
And man, it's just really cool to see you go out and get it. And that extends to everybody in the network and everything like that, where it's just like we're popping up all over the place. This is really cool. Yeah, non sequitur, but there it is. Guys, is that it? Did we do it?
I think we did it, man.
Wow, man. All right. Do we want to
just fewer and fewer rounds after the weeks?
Yeah, it only gets smaller from here. I think instead of trying to preview these games, because we'll just look stupid, and it's we don't know injury reports or anything like that. Guys, any final takeaways on the quarterfinals?
Went 6 for 8 in picks.
There you go. Good, man.
Out west, I am super excited about this round of matchups. I think the matchups we have are really good. You know, I'm excited to see Reno face Orange County because of the interesting styles of play. And then, you know, I'm really rooting for Phoenix to destroy Swope, and I think they will. But it's still like an interesting matchup. But I don't know. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I've been really excited about this whole season because of there's like teams with styles of play. You know, there's like the parity's gone down a little bit this year, and you see guys sitting back, you see guys high pressing, you see super athletic, super talented, you know, guys at Phoenix, and you see people with good systems that just work like OC and Real Monarchs. It's just been such a cool season in the playoffs. It's like we get a little bit of each of those things in the playoffs as well. So it's a good one.
For anyone out there that maybe doesn't know how the next 4 games will go, on this Friday the 26th, Phoenix will host Swope Park. And then on the 27th, the other 3 games will happen. In the West, number 1 Orange County hosting number 5 Reno. And in the East, number 1 Cincinnati hosting number 5 New York Red Bulls 2. And number 6 Bethlehem Steel traveling to number 2 Louisville City.
I am Actually, I'm actually really excited for both those games in the East. Only because I think Red Bull can give Cincy fits because they're a better offensive team than Nashville was. I don't think they're obviously statistically not as good as Nashville defensively, but they're not bad. And then really the reason you watch Bethlehem Louisville is because they played last year and Louisville absolutely murdered them. And I know there's only three guys on USL contracts. Technically, if you want to throw in, I guess just Matt Real. So like 4 guys that were in that game last year, but between them and Brendan Burke and Stephen Hogan, they don't forget that one. And on top of that, Brendan Burke and John Hackworth know each other from when Hack was the head coach of the Union. So a lot of connections there. So that'll be a fun one to watch.
Who do you guys think are going to be the two teams in the conference finals for the East and the two in the West?
Cincy Louisville in the East.
I'll agree with you on that one.
And I would love to see Orange County and Phoenix in the West.
Yeah.
That was kind of who I picked from the start. It just seemed like the Eastern Conference is now set up to have a collision course between Cincinnati and Louisville. Cincinnati's potential or last match against Louisville, and what better way to kind of send it off as an Eastern Conference final. I was just pulling some results earlier in the season in between the current matchups of the of both conference semifinals. Reno beat Orange County in their only meeting this year, and that was just at the end of the season, so that was a 3-1 Reno win. Swope Park Rangers beat and drew Phoenix in their two meetings this year. Cincinnati beat New York Red Bulls 2-1 in both matches this year, and Louisville beat Bethlehem 3-1 and drew 0-0.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think it's pretty. I think Cincinnati and Louisville is pretty likely in the conference finals, but on the West, it's really kind of hands up because, as you just said, Ryan, Orange County having a little bit of trouble with Reno in the past, and Phoenix having a little bit of trouble with Swope Park. And then for some reason, Swope Park just decides to play actual soccer in the playoffs. I don't know why.
They get in and they save it, and then they're like, "Oh, we're here." Well,
yeah, they almost didn't even get in, and then all of a sudden it's like, "Hey, let's play good." What? I hope that Orange County and Phoenix go through. I really would like. I think the most enjoyable Western Conference final to watch, just as a pure neutral, pure like fun soccer, would be to watch Orange County and Phoenix face each other in the conference finals. But we'll see how it goes.
I mean, I think the league final that everyone's kind of rooting for is Cincinnati Phoenix.
Yeah. As long as Phoenix is healthy.
Yeah, they need to have Asante and Drogba.
Cortez, yeah, exactly.
Johnson as well.
Yeah, Johnson helps, but they got that guy from San Antonio too on that wing, so it'd be all right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Plug this real quick. I'll get out of here. Follow us on Twitter. We actually hit over 1,400 people, which so thank you. Thank you for telling a friend. If you're a recent joining member of a front office of a team, I don't actually know people, or else I'd say hi to you. Thanks for listening. That always freaks me out. And is weirdly validating, because that means we're at least smart enough that you guys don't hate us. So thank you. Check us out on Twitter at the USL Show. You can follow us all individually. Ryan is at ILM_Ryan. Phil is either at Phil with 2 L's, Grooms with 2 O's, or at STL Soccer Report. Kev is at KMcamish PDX. I myself am at Speak Evans Speak. That's what I do every week, so that's why it's my Twitter name. Imagine that. Also, if you want to check out our entire back catalog, there's a couple ways you can do that. You can go subscribe on iTunes. It'll be there. Stitcher will be there. I'm reminding Mike to try and get us all on Spotify, because that would be nice. That's a bit of a selfish request, but a request nonetheless. As well as, and if you want to listen to the show before everybody else, theuslshow.com. Do that. Also, there you'll find links to our Patreon. Thank you so much if you give us money every month. That's crazy to me. You will also find a blue and orange box, or if you're colorblind, gray box for our good friends at Soccer Loco, which includes good brother DK out there, San Diego-based retailer. But don't worry, they ship everywhere. If you need boots, cleats, whatever you want to call those, kits, anything like that. If you want to, I don't know, buy a Manchester United Jose Mourinho kit and burn it or something, go for it. Who cares? It's your money. You get to do with it what you want. Where else can you? Oh, yeah, but if you really want to listen to the show before everybody else and do it live, friendly reminder that if you're listening to the downloaded episode of this podcast, we go live every Monday night at roughly 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So what is that? 8 Central, 7 Mountain, 6 Pacific, 10 o'clock Atlantic Standard Time. So if you're on the Atlantic Islands of Canada or the Virgin Islands, I believe, then it's at 10 o'clock. But yeah, check us out there, youtube.com/ the USL Show. You can also find all of our live stream archives there. Feel free. I don't know. And yeah, guys, I hope you had a pleasant quarterfinal, and we will see you after the semifinals. Oh, also, real quick, I don't know if we're going to post it on our podcast feed, although we should. I'm going to sit down with Brandon Miller and a couple of our friends from the network again to talk about goalkeepers and how the Golden Glove voting system in USL should be changed, because, guys, the Golden Glove keeper didn't play in the quarterfinals. Anyway, until next week, we only have one rule here, and that rule is don't be a dick. Take care. We'll talk to you soon.